Hello everyone, welcome back. Hope you're doing good. So this is the revision video of TDS, that is tax deducted at source. I'll just give a recap of whatever we have seen so far in this TDS chapters. Okay, so let's start the session now. TDS tax deducted at source. So what do you mean by TDS? TDS means it is a collecting of income tax. Okay, so as per the Income Tax Act 1961, we will be collecting the income once the expenses has been done. At the time of expenses itself, we will be deducting the income and we will be making the balance payment to the party, and those TDS, whatever we have deducted, will be paid to the government. Okay, so that is the TDS. Instead of waiting till the income tax filing and payment of income tax, at the source itself, okay, at the time of receiving the payment itself, the deductor will be deducting the amount and making the payment to the government as tax. That is the concept of TDS. Then when should TDS be deducted and by whom? So who and all should deduct TDS? Okay, when it should be deducted. Who and all should deduct TDS means the person who is making specific payments, and those payments are mentioned under the Income Tax Act. Okay, and when the payment you are doing, it's related to the expenses which has been mentioned in the Income Tax Act and which is beyond the threshold limit. Okay, so we have a rate chart we have a rate chart in which they have prescribed all the expenses and all the threshold limit for all the expenses. If the expenses has done beyond the threshold limit, there have been specified some rates. Okay, so we have to apply those rates and deduct TDS. Okay, so whenever we make such payments, okay, then we have to deduct the TDS. Then who and all should deduct TDS means those persons or individuals, body of individuals, association of persons, local authority, firm, company, artificial juridical person, central government, autonomous body, state government, statutory body, and branch or division of company. So these are the persons who can deduct TDS. So any of these persons who is making any payment to the third parties, okay, so they have to deduct TDS if such payment is mentioned in the Income Tax Act. Okay. Next is, what is the due date of depositing TDS? I have said you have to deduct TDS while you are making a payment. If such payment is mentioned in the Income Tax Act and it is beyond the threshold limit, means you have to deduct TDS and you have to later pay to the government when you are going to pay. Okay. If it is the payment or the expenses is made in the month of March, you have to pay on or before 30th of April. Okay. But in other cases means from April to February. In the financial year, from April to February, the due date is 7th date from the end of the month. Okay, which means if you are making any payment or expenses in the month of April, then the due date will be before 7th May. Okay, so this case continues from April to February, but in the month of March, the due date is 30th April. They have extended to 30th April. Okay, as it is the end of the financial year, they have been extended to on or before 30th April. Okay, so this is the time limit for depositing of tax. Then, what is the time limit for furnishing returns? You will be making the payment of TDS after you have deducted from your deductees. Okay, after that, you have to file this TDS returns in Form 24Q and in Form 26Q. Okay, so this returns is on quarterly basis. On 4 quarters, you have to file the returns. For the first quarter, April, May, June, the due date for filing is July 31st, both for Form 24Q and 26Q. And for second quarter, it is October 31st. And for third quarter, it is January 31st. And for fourth quarter, it is May 31st. So what is this Form 24Q, 26Q means? If you are filing the returns based on salary, that is, you will be filing in 24Q. If it is based on if it is other than salary, okay, other expenses than salary, it can be a rent TDS, it can be a commission, contractors basis, okay. So everything you will be filing in 26Q. So these are the time limit for furnishing the return. Then how to deposit TDS? So you will be depositing the TDS using the challan ITNS 281. Okay. So this is the challan you have to use while you are making the payment to the government. While you are making the TDS payment to the government. Okay. It's challan ITNS 281. Next is TDS certificate. So what are those TDS certificates? Okay. So these certificates have to be issued by a person deducting TDS. Whoever is deducting TDS, the deductor. Okay. So they will be deducting the TDS while they are making the payment to the deductee. Okay. And they will be depositing the TDS by using the challan to the government. Okay. So as a proof, they must give a TDS certificate to the deductee. Okay. So these TDS certificates are Form 16, Form 16A, Form 16B and Form 16C. Form 16 means it is TDS on salary. Okay. You have deducted TDS from your employee. Then you have made the payment to the government. Okay. So then you have to generate Form 16. Once you have filed the return, all the TDS certificates will be available in the portal. Okay. You can download it and you can give it to the employee. Okay. So they also know what all the TDS has been deducted and paid to the government. So using these forms, they will be deducting those amount while they are making the payment to the income tax, because these tax are already paid to the government. Okay. So for salary related purposes, Form 16. Okay. So the Form 16 has to be given on yearly basis by the deductor to the deductee. The due date is 31st May. And Form 16A is for TDS on non-salary payments. It's related to the rent, contractor, commission. Okay. So other than salary, what are the from whichever expenses the TDS has been deducted, it will be Form 16A. Okay. The deductor will be giving Form 16A to the deductee. So the frequency is on quarterly basis. Okay. That is 15 days from the due date of filing return. So once you have filed the return, within 15 days, you can able to get it from the portal. And next is Form 16B. It is related to TDS on sale of property. And for every transaction, you can take the certificates. That is 15 days from the due date of filing return. Then Form 16C, TDS on rent for every transaction, 15 days from due date of filing return. Okay. So these are the certificates. That is the TDS certificates which has to be given by the deductor to the deductee as a proof that they have paid their taxes to the government and they have filed the return for the same. Okay. Next is TAN. So what is TAN? It is a tax deduction account number. TAN, the abbreviation TAN is tax deduction account number. It is a 10-digit alphanumeric number. Okay. So those persons who are deducting the TDS while they are making any payment to the party, they have to get the TAN number from the government. Okay. So it is very mandatory. So based on the TAN only, all the TDS will be filed. So they will be TAN will be using to link the deductor and the deductee while they are making the TDS returns. Okay. So it is very mandatory to get the TAN. So it is a tax deduction account number. So it is under section 203A of the Income Tax Act. It is mandatory to quote TAN, that is tax deduction account number allotted by the Income Tax Department for on all TDS returns. Okay. So whenever you are making the TDS return, you have to quote the TAN number. Next is PAN number. PAN number means permanent account number. So it is a 10-digit number in alphabets and numeric. It's an alphanumeric 10-digit number. Okay. So the abbreviation of PAN is permanent account number. So all the taxpayers should have a PAN number. So it's very mandatory. Okay. So while you're receiving the income, okay, if the deductor has deducted the money from you against the TDS, you have to provide the PAN number. So it is the responsibility of every deductee has to produce the PAN number to the deductor. If you are not producing the PAN number to the deductor will be deducting TDS at a higher rate. Okay, instead of 2% or 5% or 10%, he will be deducting 20%. Okay, so it is very mandatory to provide the PAN number by the deductee to the deductor. So in the rate chart itself, you can see if PAN is not provided means what are the rate is applicable. Mostly it is 20%. Okay, so as it is a higher rate, we have to provide a PAN to the deductor. Next is TDS credits in Form 26AS. Okay, so what is this Form 26AS? Okay, so whenever the deductor is deducting the TDS, he will be deducting the TDS and he will make the payment to the government. That is the procedure you all know. So after he has deposited, he will be filing the return. For example, he is deducting the TDS on rent and he is making the payment to the government. So while he is filing the return, he will be using the PAN. He will be linking the PAN of the individual deductee and he will be filing the return. Okay, so you could have dealt with many companies. Okay, in one company you would have got the TDS credit. TDS credit means these TDS and all already has been deducted from the deductee and paid to the government. Okay, so whatever the TDS, whatever the tax during the financial year, whatever the tax got deducted from the deductee and paid to the government, it will be all this tax credit. So these are not tax credit for the deductee. Okay, so these tax and all already has been paid on the behalf of the deductee. The deductor has been paid to the government by linking their PAN. Okay, so if you have linked your PAN, if you go and view the Form 26AS, it shows all the tax credit. Okay, for example, one company would have deducted the TDS based on rent. Another company would have deducted from you on the basis of commission. Okay, so all this has been linked with one PAN number of the deductee. So if the deductee has go and see the Form 26AS, he will be knowing what are the tax credit. Okay, so it shows all the total tax credit in the financial year. So while he is paying his own income tax return, he can deduct this tax credit from this income tax liability and he can pay the rest. So this is known as Form 26AS. So the major thing here, the usage is that PAN. Okay, the permanent account number. Once you given the PAN number only, this Form 26AS will work. Okay, because all based on the PAN only, the tax credit Form 26AS will be worked out. If PAN is not provided means you won't be getting any tax credit. So this is Form 26AS. Next is consequences of non-deduction of TDS. If we have not deducted any TDS means what are the consequences? Okay, so the main consequences of non-deduction of TDS, you have made a payment. Okay, you have made a payment on the expenses. The expenses payment also exceeds the threshold limit and it's also included in the Income Tax Act. Okay, those expenses, nature of payment has been included in the Income Tax Act, but still you have not yet deducted the TDS means the assessing officer, he has the power to disallow those expenditure for ascertaining taxable profit. Okay, so if he disallow those expenses means automatically what happens, your profit will increases. From that you will be making the payment to the income tax. Okay, so it is better to deduct TDS regularly once your payment or expenses, the nature of payment has exceeded the limit. Okay, that is exceeded the threshold limit. Next is late deduction of TDS. So you have to deduct TDS while you are making the payment itself. If you have failed to deduct TDS and you are deducting the TDS 1 month later or 2 months later, okay, then 1% of interest will be charged. Okay, if there is any late deduction of TDS, then 1% of interest will be charged. Then late payment of TDS. You have deducted the TDS, but you haven't made any payment to the government. Whatever they deducted, you haven't made the payment to the government. Then 1.5% per month will be charged as an interest. Okay, so 1.5 per month on the interest amount. Sorry, on the TDS amount. Okay, so for example, you have to make 1000 rupees TDS means, so 1000 into 1.5% will be the interest. So that is for late payment of TDS. Next, late filing of returns of TDS. You have deducted correctly, you have made a payment, but you have filed the return beyond the due date. Okay, so we have a due date on quarterly basis, that is 31st July, 31st October, 31st January and 31st May respectively for the 1, 2, 3, 4 quarter. Okay, then the fees will be charged rupees 200 per day. So far we have seen all the interest is for per month, but if there is a late filing of return, the interest is for per day. Okay, that is 200 rupees per day will be charged until you have filed the return. Okay, for example, on 31st July you haven't filed the return. Only on 5th July you have filed, on 5th August you have filed. Okay, then 1st August, 2nd August, 3rd August, 4th August, 5th August. 5 days into 200. So 1000 rupees will be your late filing of return fees. Okay, so that is as per section 234E. Next is penalty for late filing of TDS return. So apart from that penalty, that is the rupees 200 per day. Okay, so apart from that, you have a penalty minimum of rupees 10,000, which may extend to rupees 1 lakh also. Okay, so these are the thing for late filing of TDS return and also in case of incorrect filing of TDS returns. Okay, so these are the penalties. So till this the revision part for TDS theory part is over. Then we can move on to the practical session of Tally Prime. Okay. Here I have created already a company. Okay. So the first thing you have to do is activation of TDS. So for that, click on F11. Then let show more features be S and show all features be S. And then you have to come to taxation. Under taxation, second option, enable tax deducted at source. So this has to be enabled now. And you will be asked for the TAN registration number. Just for an example, I am giving the TAN number. Then the TAN this is the TAN registration number, and this is the TAN number. Okay, so while you are registering for TAN, you will be getting a registration number. That number you have to give it over here, and this is the TAN number. What is the deductor type? So if you are an individual company, so what are the deductor type? Your company type. Okay, so that is company and the branch and the code, phone number, email ID, and the person who is responsible for all this TDS work. The details can be filled over here. Okay, and next is ignore IT exemption limit for TDS. So there is an exemption limit for each and every expenses. Okay, so if this is if you are given S2, this means it will ignore all the exemption limit. So whatever the amount you have entered in your voucher, for everything TDS will be calculated. Next, if you are activating TDS for towers or stock items, you can enable this. And if you want to provide the surcharge and sales details, you can enable this and feed all the details of residential details, deductee and applicable date, what are the subcharge, what is the exemption limit, sales details, everything you can feed it over here. So while you are making the voucher entries, if the exemption limit crosses, means automatically TDS will be deducted based on the details provided over here. Okay, so after filling all the details, just accept this. Yes. Now TDS has been activated in your books. Then next step is you have to create the TDS nature of payments. So from the gateway of Tally, just click on create under masters. Then click on TDS nature of payments under statutory masters. Just give enter. You will be getting the TDS nature of payment creation screen. Okay. Here you can create the nature of payments. So there is a helper option in the right button bar. You can click on it. Okay. So as we are using the education mode, this helper option won't be working. So if you are using a licensed mode, you can click on the helper option and you can select the nature of payments. All those nature of payments will be appearing. So once you selected, all the details will be related to the rates and all. It will fill automatically. Okay. So here you have to create the nature of payment TDS. So while you are creating payment, you must check the rate chart also. So here I have shared the rate chart. Okay. So this is the rate charge for the current financial year. Okay. So for example, if I am going to create a payment to contractors. For payment to contractors, the single bill payment is 30,000. That is, if you are making a single bill payment of beyond 30,000 means TDS will be calculated. And the aggregate payment means the total payment in the same financial year. Okay, so if it occurs after 1 lakh means then 1% will be charged. For individuals, first column is for individuals and second is for the company. If PAN is not provided means straight away 20%. Okay, so here you have to, by using this chart, it will be helpful for you to create correctly. Payment to contractors. Then the section. So section is also very important. Section also has been provided in the rate chart. It is 194C. 194C. So if you are using the helper option, all the details will be appeared automatically. Okay. So the single bill 30,000. And here is an F12 option over here, F12 configuration. So whatever the relevant feature you want it over here, you can enable this. And next is for individual, it is 1%, and for deductee, other types of deductee other than individuals, it is 2%. Single bill threshold limit we have given over here, and the major exemption limit is 1 lakh. So I have given here. So this is the payment to contractors. It's done. Okay. So whatever the nature of payments you are doing, you can able to create it through the rate chart. You can refer the rate chart and you can create. So if you are making any payment and the payment has occurred in this rate chart, okay. So if this is the nature of payment, you can just have a glance over this, okay. So this is the rates of TDS which is applicable for the current financial year, okay. It is for the dividend, okay. So the major thing is the important is payment to contractors, insurance commission, and you'll be having commission, okay, commission and brokerage 194H. Okay, so these and all the nature of payments and the rent. Okay, so you have many nature of payments. So if you are making any of this payment and the payment has been beyond the threshold limit given in this column, you have to follow this rates. Okay, you have to deduct TDS on this rates. If the deductee type also you have to see. If the deductee type is an individual means you have to follow this column. And if the deductee type is other than individual, it is a company means you have to follow this column. Okay, and if PAN is not provided means you have to follow this column. Okay, so this is the TDS rates. So we have done with the nature of payment now. So now we have created the TDS nature of payments. So apart from this, before going to the voucher, we have to create some more ledgers. Okay, so next is the party ledger. First step is you have to activate TDS by using the F11 feature. Next one is you have to create the nature of payment by going to create under masters, and you have to click on TDS nature of payment under statutory masters. This is the second step. Third step is you have to create a party ledger. Okay, just go to create ledger. So now we are going to create a party ledger. Okay, so the first is activation of TDS on tally. Then you have to create a nature of payment, then party ledger. So I'm creating here AK and Co. Okay, under creditors, then you will be coming to under statutory details is TDS deductible. You have to give S over here, and you have to select the deductee type because the TDS rate will be calculated based on the deductee type only. So we have seen in the rate chart, right? So for individuals, it is separate percentage has been charged, and for if it is a company, means separate percentage. So the deductee type mentioning here is very important. So deductee type AK and Co is a company. So I am selecting a company over here, and deduct TDS in same voucher. Yes. Next option I will be teaching you later after some time. Then just give S and select the nature of payment over here. If you are dealing with a contractor related basis to AK and Co means you can select the nature of payment as payment to contractors. Okay, and then you have to give the PAN number. So it's very important. If you are not given the PAN number means straight away 20% will be charged. So to avoid that, you have the deductor must get the PAN number from the deductee, and you have to fill it over here. And just give S. Yes, your party ledger has been created. The third step is creation of party ledger. Next, fourth step is you have to create your expense ledger. Okay. For example, they are dealing with advertisement expenses and it is on contract basis, means we have to create an advertisement expenses now. So advertisement expenses under indirect expense, type of ledger not applicable, and you have to come directly to statutory details, and under is TDS applicable, you have to give applicable. Okay, then you have to link the nature of payment over here. So see, while you are creating all the ledgers, you have to link with the nature of payment also. Okay, so it is advertisement expenses means based on payment to contractors. Then accept it. Okay, we have done with the creation of expenses ledger. Then next step is, fifth step, we have to create a tax ledger, that is TDS on contractors. So you will be deducting, after you are deducting the TDS while you are making the payment, you will be making the payment to the government, right? So it is a tax liability for you. So yeah, it has been to be created under duties and taxes. Select TDS, nature of payment. So here also you will be linking the nature of payment. Okay, so it's all done. So you can next move on to the voucher. Okay, you can create the voucher now. So we have done with the steps. First is activation of TDS on tally. Next is creation of nature of payment. Next is creation of party ledger. Then creation of expense ledger. Then creation of tax ledger. So we have done with that. Now we can move on to the vouchers. Just click on vouchers over here and give F7 journal. Okay. So for example, if we have received a bill for advertisement expenses rupees 1 lakh. Let it be 1,20,000. Okay. So we have received from AK & Co. So I am debiting here advertisement expenses of 1,20,000. Okay. So no need for cost center now. So I'll just editing this and disabling the cost center. Okay. Select the nature of payment here. Then credit the party. See here, automatically it got calculated based on the rates we have provided in the nature of payment. Then credit TDS on contractor. Okay, so here it is. So this is the way you have to create a ledger, being the advertisement expenses, payable to AK & Co. Okay, just accept it. So we have done with the transaction now. Next we are going to see TDS configuration. Okay, so we can do the TDS configuration in group level and also in the ledger level. Okay, so for example, if you take a rent, okay, so see here, I am creating a group, rent for furnitures, land and buildings. Under indirect expenses. Okay. Then here, set or alter TDS details, you have to give S over here. Then nature of payment, payment to contractors. Okay. So already, yeah, you have to create it now. So rent is not related to contract basis. It is rent, payment of rent. Okay. So we have to create another nature of payment. Rent for furniture, land and buildings. We can also refer the rate chart. Okay. So rent, yeah, here it is. So rent for land and buildings, furniture and fittings. Okay. So for land and buildings, furniture and fittings, for all things, the threshold limit is 2,40,000 and 10%. Section is 194I, 194I. Okay. Then no single bill limitations. Okay. Then the payment is 10%. Okay. Threshold limit is 2,40,000. So we have done with the rent for furniture, land and buildings. Nature of payments has been created and we have configured the TDS configuration in the group level. Okay. See here, we have created the group. Okay. You can see in the Foundation screen. We have created a group rent for furniture, land and buildings, and I have configured the TDS in the group level because I have selected the nature of payment in the group level itself. It is related to rent for furniture and land and buildings. Okay. Later on, I am going to create a ledger now for rent for furniture. So whenever I am making a payment for rent only for furniture, I will be using this ledger. Okay, this is under rent for furniture. So once I have created under this group, I need not configure in ledger level. I will be just giving applicable, and here I will not be defining any nature of payment. So this is the configuration of TDS on group level, because in group level I have done the configuration, TDS configuration. Okay, but here on ledger level I am not going to do any configuration. I'll just give undefined over the ledger level. So here the TDS has been configured in group level. Okay, so we can see here vouchers. I'm going to create a rent ledger now. So we have already created, sorry, rent for furniture, let it be 3 lakh, and credit ABC at home, not ABC. We create the individual person ledger, Mr. A. Sundry creditors, yes, applicable S, individual, and yes. Okay, see here automatically it got calculated based on the group level. Okay, so I have configured the TDS only on the group level, not in rent on furniture ledger level. Okay, but I have created the rent on for furniture under the group rent for furniture, land and buildings, in which I have configured the TDS. So it automatically takes the group level. Okay, then TDS on rent under duties and taxes, TDS nature of payment. Okay, so there are two ways you can configure the TDS. You can do it in the ledger level or group level. So far we have seen group level. If you take group level, means it will takes the if you have configured in the group level and not configured in the ledger level, means it will take the rates will be based on the group level. If you have configured in group level also and also in ledger level, means it will take the ledger level. Okay, so finally if you have configured the TDS in the ledger level, the TDS calculation will be based on the ledger level. Okay, so far we have seen the group level now. So if you want to create the ledger level, means you have to create the TDS configuration in ledger level, means you can go to alter ledger rent for furniture. Okay, here you can configure that. So whatever the configuration you do here while you are creating the voucher, all the calculation will be based on ledger level, not group level. Okay, so first if you have not mentioned any configuration in the ledger level, it will take the calculation of the group level. If you have mentioned both in group and ledger, means the calculation will be based on only ledger level, not group level. Okay, so this is the TDS configuration. Next is you can fix the TDS on lower rate and zero rate. Usually you will be checking the rate chart and you will be deducting the TDS based on the rate mentioned over there. Okay, if the deductee want to deduct don't want to deduct TDS, or they want to deduct the TDS at a lower rate, means the assessing officer, after he gets satisfied with the income slab of the deductee, he will be issuing a certificate. If the deductee has a certificate, okay, he can able to deduct the TDS on lower rate and also zero rate. Okay, so how to enter those transactions? Okay, so let's see. So while you're creating a party, you have to mention it over there. So just go to create option, ledger, see Mr. B under sundry creditors. So here just give is TDS deductible, give to S, deductee type is an individual, or let's take one society like that, AR cooperative society. nature of payment is payment to contractors. So here there is an option, use advanced TDS entries. Okay. So in F12 configuration, just give abort to S and here you have allow advanced entries in TDS masters. Okay, this has to be enabled. Once this has been enabled, you will be getting an option, use advanced TDS entry. Just give S over here and you have an option, set or alter 0 or lower deduction. This option to be given S. Here the nature of payment has to be selected. Okay, so see here, if you want to deduct TDS on lower deduction, you have to select 197. If you want to have your TDS at a 0 rate, means you have to produce form 115G or 15H. That will come under 197H. Okay, sorry, 197A. For example, I am going to deduct the TDS at a 0 rate. Even though you have fixed the nature of payment contractors with some threshold limit, okay, once we have entered this screen, once we have given the details over here, it will never calculate. Okay, so for example, I have fixed a 0 rate here. So TDS won't be calculated for this AR cooperative society if you are using this ledger in the voucher. Okay, so here you have to give the certificate number. This certificate number will be provided by the assessing officer. So in that certificate, you will be having a certificate number and what is the validity period you will be having. So you will be using this certificate only for those validity period and to that particular person only. Okay, the name of the person also will be there. The name of the deductee also will be appearing in the certificate. So those person can only be used the certificate for the TDS purposes. So for 0 rate, you have to select 197A, that is more important, and you can give the PAN number over here. Just give enter. Okay, so we can do the voucher entry now. So it's payment to contractors, advertisement expenses 5 lakh. So payment to contractors above 1 lakh. You have to deduct TDS, but here we have fixed the 0 rate. Okay, so automatically what happens? AR cooperatives, no TDS will be deducted. See here, no TDS will be deducted. If that 0 rate has not been fixed while you are creating the party ledger, means you have not yet set any 0 rated related information, means automatically TDS will be calculated based on the nature of payments you have provided. In the nature of payment to contractors, we have provided the threshold limit for 1 lakh. So it is almost above 1 lakh, 5 lakh. So TDS will be calculated. But what we have done, while you are creating the ledger, we have fixed the rate over here. We have fixed the details of 0 or lower deduction and we have selected 197A over here. So no TDS has been deducted now. Got it? Next, if you want to fix a lower rate, okay, so let us create another party. AH Society. So same payment to contractors. Here you give S and here set or alter 0 or lower deduction. Just give S. Then here select the nature of payment and here we are going to enter at a lower deduction. So 197 lower deduction. You can give the certificate number here. Just for an example, I am giving the certificate number here. Then applicable date. Okay. Then rate is 1%. Okay. So 1% I have fixed to a lower rate. Now you can see the vouchers, advertisement expenses, same 5 lakh I'm doing. So here AH Society. See here 1% has now deducted. You can also calculate it 5 lakh into 1%. It comes to 5,000. 5,000 has been deducted automatically. Okay. So even though we have fixed the rates as per the Income Tax Act in the nature of payment, once we have done with the ledger, okay, in ledger creation, that is in party ledger creation, if we have done the if we have set or altered the lower deduction or zero rate deduction, based on that the TDS will be calculated over here. Okay, TDS on contractors 5,000. Okay, being the advertisement charges, being able to TDS Society. Okay, so this is the way you can fix the lower rate or zero rate transactions. So there are many ways you can do the TDS voucher entries. So one simple transaction we have seen. After that we have seen the fixing of the lower rate and zero rate transactions. So in some cases you can book the expenses first and later on also you can enter the TDS. Okay. So let us see how to do. For example, advertisement expenses 4 lakh. Okay, so here instead of giving the TDS entries now, you can just give the expenses. Just post the entries now and you can give the TDS entries also later. So for the month, you can fix the entries. Okay, for the month, initially you can post all the expenses entry. Later on also you can do the TDS entries. Okay, so here I have done with the advertisement expenses. Then let's see rent. Okay, so I have done two expenses entries. One is rent, another one is expenses, in which I have not yet deducted any TDS. So after time, I can able to deduct the TDS. I can pass the TDS entries later on also. Okay, first you can book all the expenses. Later on, I am going to deduct the TDS. Okay, so here I can give this option, autofill. Okay, and TDS deduction, party name, and payment to contractors. If those transactions are liable for TDS but I haven't done the TDS entry, means that party ledger will be appearing over here. See here automatically it comes. So I need not calculate the TDS and all. I can just give autofill and I can fill all those details. I can just select what is the party, what is the TDS is deductible from that party. I can just select the party so that all the details will be coming over here. So this is the TDS payable. I can just give enter. Okay, and then again autofill, and here Mr. A related to rent, right? See here 10% almost it has been calculated, 10% each. So in this way also you can book the transactions. Okay, so initially you can book all those expenses. After that, at the end of the month also you can enter the post all the TDS entries. In this way also you can book all those expenses. Okay, so using this autofill option in the right button bar. One more type of transaction is there related to TDS, in which you will be receiving a bill in which some of the amount will be applicable for TDS and rest of the amount will not be applicable for TDS. Okay, for example, if you are receiving 5 lakh of bill, in which 4 lakh 50 will be related to TDS deduction. Balance 50,000, it's apart from TDS, it's not applicable for TDS. Okay, so such transaction how to enter means just give advertisement expenses. Just for an example, I'm giving 5 lakh. Okay, payment to contractors. Then here AK and row, so it is based on Okay, so here just give F12 configuration, okay, and allow modification of accessible value. Just give S, and here you can modify. See here, the total bill is 5 lakh, in which 4 lakh 50 only is based on TDS. Okay, so I have to calculate TDS only on 4 lakh 50, not 5 lakh. So I can give the accessible value over here so that it will calculate automatically. Advertisement expenses 5 lakh. So here I will be giving 4 lakh 50,000. Okay. Now the TDS has been calculated based on 4 lakh 50,000, not 5 lakh. Okay. So we can also check the nature of payment. So it is 1% for individuals and another 2% for other deducted. So here 4,50,000 into 2%. So it comes to 9,000. Okay, see here, it comes to 9,000. So TDS on contractors. Okay. So the 2% has been calculated only from 4 lakh 50 because we have given the accessible value as 4 lakh 50. Okay. So it comes to 9,000. So we can also fix like this. Just give enter and accept it. So this is the way you will be posting all the TDS entries. Okay. So we have done with TDS transactions. Just we can see the reports. So from Gateway of Tally, click on Display More Reports under Reports, and under Statutory, click on Statutory Reports and TDS Reports. Here Form 26Q is there, so just click on it. So you'll be having the Form 26Q. Okay, so this form has to be filed as a quarterly return. Okay, here you can see deduction at normal rate, deduction higher rate, lower rate. So whatever the thing we have done in lower rate, everything has been segregated over here, and this is 0 rate. Okay, and this is the total amount to be payable deducted current period. So this amount has to be paid as a TDS. Okay, and here you have the total vouchers. So whatever the vouchers related to TDS we have done, everything will be coming over here in journal. You can see on month wise also. And included in the return. So whatever the transactions which are included in the return, booking voucher and booking with deduction voucher. Okay, so with deduction we have done. So all this voucher will be coming over here. So this is just booking voucher. Booking voucher means the transaction which is related to the TDS, but we haven't deducted any TDS. Okay, then deduction voucher. So later on we have done the deduction separately. So that voucher has been segregated automatically over here. Then not relevant to transaction, no. Then uncertain transaction. So if you have done any transactions where the calculation has some mistakes, means it will appear over here. So that you have to correct those transactions and then you have to accept it. Okay, so once you are filing your return from the Tally Prime, so you have to make this uncertain, that is correction needed part, to be 0. Okay, so that everything will be included and the amount will be done correctly. Okay. So here, so if you want to make the payment, so here the deduction currently the amount has to be paid is 87,400. If you want to make the payment, means you can just give here state payment TDS. Okay, so the section, so which section amount of TDS you have to give. If it is TDS on contractor, 194C payment to contractors, deducted status is company cash. Okay, see here automatically it comes to payment screen. So you need not post the payment vouchers separately manually. Okay, you can go to the returns and you can select the state payment so that it directly goes to the tax payment automatically. Okay, here you can just give the payment made towards the TDS on contractors. Then you can make the payment voucher here. It's very easy. Okay. Again, if you want to make any other payment means give state payment, select TDS, or which period you want to make the payment, and select the section, select the nature of payment and the deducted type, and give cash or bank. If you want to make the payment through bank means you have to create it. We haven't created the bank ledger now. If you want, we can create it. SBA Bank under bank accounts. Just save this. Okay, you will be getting. Okay. So from this itself you can make the payment. You can select the bank so that it automatically goes to the bank. Bank balance is not there. We haven't given the bank balance, so it doesn't appear over here. So we can give cash. Okay. So there is no payment related to the rent, so that it appears as 0. There is no TDS based on rent. Okay. So you can make the payment using the state payment, and TDS deduction option is there. If you want to make any deduction, you haven't done any deduction on specific nature means it will appear over here. So from this itself you can make the TDS deduction. Okay, so this is form 26Q. Then you have form 27Q. Okay, so based on form 27Q we haven't rendered any transactions. So this is challan reconciliation. So whenever you made a payment, you can just select this and you can click on reconcile. Okay, and you can give the details of the payment. So once you have done with the TDS payment, you can give the check number, BSR code, challan number, challan date and all, and you can reconcile with this. Okay, so this is challan reconciliation. And then return transaction book. After you have filed the return, it will be appearing over here. Then TDS outstanding, whatever the amount which is pending for outstanding amount will be appearing over here. The ledgers without PAN. If you have created any ledgers without a PAN means it shows here. Okay, so if you have forgotten to give the PAN number also, you can just check it with this report so that you will be knowing. So for this payment, for this party, you haven't given the PAN number because PAN is very necessary, right? So if you haven't given the PAN means you have to directly, you need to deduct the TDS at a very large rate, that is like 20%. Instead of 1%, 5%, 10%, you have to deduct 20%. So it is very mandatory to provide the PAN. If you want to get the supplier's details means you can use show all option over here so that you will be getting all the things. If you have given any wrongly also invalid also, you can edit it over here. You need not go to a single ledger and you can edit it. You can just click over here and you can edit this PAN number also. And also you can feed all the contact number, contact details. Okay. You can give the PAN numbers over here. So these are the TDS reports. Okay. So the main report is form 26Q. So here you have in right button bar, you can also select the period. For example, if you want to view the complete financial year's TDS related transactions, please you can change the period by clicking Alt F2. Like this. If you want to file the return for quarterly basis means 1/4/2021 to April, May, June. So 36. Okay, as we are using the education mode, that date won't be accepting now. Like this. Okay. And then if you want to save this return, you can give save return. So there are still unsolved exemptions for the period. The tax values may not be correct if all exemptions are not solved. Do you want to really save without resolving? Okay, so here is a transaction correction to be needed, uncertain transaction correction needed. Okay, so we want to resolve it after the 20, we can able to save the return. Okay, so what are the transactions which are incorrect, we have to save this. So anything is done manually means it won't be get saved. Okay, so it has to be resolved. And next is we have seen TDS deductions. So if you haven't done any TDS deductions, you will be clicking on this. and next is remarks. So if you want to post any remarks, you can give it over here. Next is state payment. I had told you from this return page itself you can make the payment entries. Okay, then here also F12 configuration is there. If you want to have a detailed view, you can view a detailed view or condensed view. Okay, and here I have explained you this deduction at normal rate, higher rate, lower rated, zero rated. Okay, under exemption limit and exempt in lieu of PAN available. And if you have any transaction, means it will appear in the concern heading. Okay, so this is the TDS related transactions and all these TDS reports. Okay, so almost we have covered all the topic. Okay, hope you have learned. See you in the next session. Thank you.